Was this man delivered orally, or was it written?
Both. Okay, we went up to the parentheses. We are on the bottom third of page, a little bit above that, page test. The line starts with the word mipnei. Okay, we have that. And we're discussing really a phenomenal principle. The principle of ideas hametzius, or ideas hamahus. I want to translate this principle of Vidiyas HaMetzias and the Riyas HaMhus, which we are getting even deeper into it, to understand the significance of it, not just in terms of what's higher and what's lower, but in terms of its effect. And this is something which reflects itself in us, in the human being, and it has a very significant, plays a very significant part in our lives, and how we make decisions, and what path we choose for ourselves. We said many times that Re'iyah, sight, is extremely effective. It's Re'iyah's Hamahus. We said that, I'm sure you recall some of what we discussed, that a person who is sightless, who does not have sight, is lacking a sense of the reality of the world. To the extent that he says that he doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. Suma, only Yetzer Hara. Why doesn't he have a Yetzer Hara? He has taste. Why not? Because the Yetzer Hara of a human being is not a stupid Yetzer Hara like an animal. it has also seichel. And the Yetzer Hara is attracted to something that is real. Something that's imaginary, that's not real, it's not attracted to. So it doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. Like we say, Poshet the Halacha, that Shabbos, we have Shabbos candles, I've mentioned it many, many times. One of the reasons for Shabbos candles is at least because Shabbos is supposed to enjoy your food. And you cannot enjoy your food if you cannot see it. Even though food is something that you taste. But if you taste something that you don't sense its reality, you don't really enjoy it. Imagine somebody is giving you the sensation of taste. It's as if you're tasting something real, but you don't really eat anything real. The sensation of it. What sensation is, you don't really enjoy it.
Is it similar to what happened with the man? The problem of the man, maybe? The complaining of the man? Like the Jews in the Mikvah?
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Except that the man was a lechem min hashamayim. They had a completely different value there. But and the point is correct. All right. So the Yiyah is what gives us a reality sense of the world. On the other hand, as we pointed out, also, I want to remind you, and it's a very simple illustrations we're using, but I'd like you to understand their significance. Remember we spoke about a clock in the closet, a clock in the wall, a clock in the store, and a clock in your home on the wall. A clock in the store and a clock on your wall is exactly the same clock. You're looking at the same thing. But the clock that's hanging in your living room wall, in the right place, speaking for the fact, or speaking means it is expressing the fact that there is a human being living in this house. And that this clock was put in the right place so that human being will be able to actually benefit from it and enjoy its presence. This is not a sight, an element of sight, because looking at this clock on the wall or in the closet is the same clock. This is expressing an idea. Something has to do with seichel, has to do with intelligence. Like we pointed out, somebody who is not sensitive to intelligence, to human values. He comes into somebody's home and he sees the clock on the wall. He says, hey, the clock doesn't belong here, it belongs over here. He goes and takes it off and puts it down. What would we think of that person? He's an idiot. He thinks it's a clock. It's not a clock, it's a clock in the right place that this person chose to put it there. You understand? It's not moving the clock, it's offending the person who put it there. And that's don't see. That is seichel, chochma and bina. Bina primarily. And yet, even this is the thing that you actually see, which is the mahus, the reality. Whereas the other thing is only what you understand. And yet, you have greater respect, a greater sense of relation to this bina aspect than to that which you saw. To the intellectual aspect than to that which to the visible aspect, to the physical aspect. This is a very important principle. It's an important principle, and we only speak about this because a human being primarily is a sikhli. Where do you see the human being? Not the fact that he's able to see, is able to carry, run, build. Primarily you see it in the human being is in his intellect. And intellect means how sensitive is he to value. Moshe Rabbeinu, this is an interesting thing that will help us understand. Moshe Rabbeinu, the story goes, the Medrash says, Moshe Rabbeinu, was taken into Paro's home as a baby, and he grew up in Paro's home. But he was an absolutely exceptional child. So at a very young age, it's obvious that this is something, an exceptional child with exceptional insight and intelligence. So the story goes that Moshe was sitting on Paro's lap, like, so to speak, like his grandson, because Basi Baspari said, she raised him as her child. And he lo lebein. So Pari was playing with Moshe, with the little Moshe. And Moshe was sitting there. Pari had a crown on his head. Moshe took the crown off Pari's head and put it on his own. So Pari was taken aback. And he couldn't dismiss it. This is a childish thing, he doesn't know what he's doing. But Moshe, you can't dismiss it that easily. Even though he was a baby, whatever the age was. So Pari, very sensitive about the crown going someplace else. So he wanted to test Moshe's intelligence. And if it proved that Moshe knew what he was doing, then God forbid, then Pari intended to kill him. So how did they test him? They put a pot of hot coals, and next to it a pot of gold. Now, to a child, a foolish child, so to speak, hot coal is more interesting than gold. The coal is active and constantly sprouting out fire and so forth. The gold is passive. So the test was, if he is a foolish child, doesn't know the value of things, he would go for the gold, for the coal, for the gold coal. If he goes for the gold, that means that he knows what he's doing. Moshe was going for the gold. A malach came and pushed his hand off to the coal, and he grabbed a piece of coal and put it to his mouth, like a child would normally do. The first thing you do is taste it. This is one of the reasons that Moshe was a kvat peh. That his
What was the other reasons? There were other reasons?
The other reason is because he was higher than the world. He couldn't really be. There's a chiddush, So he went for it. So that saved his life, essentially, at that moment. So here we see gold is not as attractive to the eye as coal. But it is much more attractive to the intellect than coal. Our ability to withstand the temptation of the physical attraction, the physical interest, in contrast to the intellectual attraction, is what we are learning about. Intellectual attraction, intellectual view is only metzius. In Chochmah there is a mahus, but the Bina doesn't know the mahus. The Bina is, you understand its value. And let us get into this. Do I have you with me so far? Right? I want to get into this for a second. Here we will be able to sense Chochmah and Bina in a certain sense that it's very difficult to really understand. A diamond, a gold watch, a gold ring, these are things which have exquisite value and beauty. Now you could, for instance, the ladies wear jewelry. You can make beautiful jewelry from fake gold and fake diamonds. Today, absolutely, from glass in it. That's what the goyim, they have big glass stones hanging, and to them this is heaven. Because, whatever it's so attractive and so attention calling, whatever it may be. In absolute contrast, a fine person, he doesn't want anything big, he wants something that has special finesse and special beauty. To the appearance, it's much more attractive, the big thing, than a small little diamond. But the small diamond is real. So you ask a question, well, this is a piece of jewelry. It's an ornament. It's supposed to add beauty. So this big thing adds more beauty than the little diamond. So why you prefer the diamond than the big thing? And what's the answer? The only answer we have, the only way we can thread the answer is that this is real and this is fake. So what's the difference? But it's beautiful. What's the difference with real and fake? So to explain the difference is impossible. But we sense a difference. In Chochmah, when we have the sense of Bahus, of the true value of things, we sense a difference. So here we were saying before that Bina understands the mitzius of that which the Chochmah sees the Mahus. You follow what I'm saying? So in Chochmah, this is a person in Chochmah really senses that this is different, this is the real thing. When it comes to understanding the difference, he understands only the mitzias. For instance, you say, listen, there are diamonds. There is a very limited amount of diamonds, and this diamond is very small, but it's pure. It's so clean and so beautiful. All that. You know how did you ever see a diamond merchant examine a diamond? You would think, you look at a diamond, it looks nice, okay. No. He takes a magnifying glass and he looks into every crack and crevice, looks right through it and put a big shining beam of light through it and to see whether it's pure through and through. You can't see it externally. It has almost no effect in terms of what meets the eye. And if a diamond just slightly more pure than another, it's worth 3 times as much. You can have the same diamond, the same size diamond looking the same for $500 and for $1,500 and for $5,000. It's the same size, but it's a different quality. Who can tell the quality except for the expert? But that's what you want. This sense of the value, because it's true value, this is an intellectual sense. This is in the Chokhmah. Because Chokhmah relates to reality. It's in the Chokhmah in the person. That in the Bina you can explain, listen, this is a rare piece of stone, this is not so rare, and this has been, this has been found under certain circumstances, whatever it may be. You can explain, but whatever explanations you give are all the mitzias, all the external. This is not the real thing. And this is what we're saying, the significance of the Bina. Bina is only mitzias. But what is the mitzias? What does Bina understand the mitzias? That which in Chokhmah is known as the Mahus. That sensitivity that a human being has to value something that has true value, rather than that something has an apparent value, this is what makes a human being. And even the understanding of the mitzias of that is superior than the experience of Mahus on the lower level, as we're going to see. In Midas, as we learned in Midas, we have an actual experience of Abba Paltiel. In Seichel, we only have an understanding of it. But the understanding of Seichel is superior to the feeling of the Midas. Even though one is a real thing, is a real feeling, and one is only a Metzius understanding. So I wanted to introduce this so that we can have, so to speak, some kind of a personal association with what we're learning, so that as we're going deeper into this, we will not feel like we're talking about some kind of a imaginary reality. It has very pertinent consequence, effect. Okay, now we go inside. Okay, so I said I skipped the parentheses over here because that's mamash very involved. The line begins with the word chocham, odif minot. We discussed it last time. The Rebbe brings down the union with the Gemara says that chocham is odif minot, is superior, is more valuable than a novi, even though a novi sees the truth of Elokus, and the chocham only understands it. But that understanding is superior to the vision of the novi, and thus this is what explains to us what we said before, that there is Bina and Zoh. Zoh is the Midas, and Bina is the Seichel. So we said that Zoh is in the category of Zeh. Bina is in the category of Koi. Everybody knows what I'm talking about? Bina is in the category of Koi. What?
Which koi?
No, koi. Koi means so. I don't know if you were here when we learned this.
The Schwindel trap.
Huh?
The Schwindel trap.
The Schwindel trap. Let me just introduce you to the general topic. The Gemara says that Moshe nisnaba b'zeh. Moshe, he said his nevuah using the word zeh. Zeh hadover. This is the thing. Other Nevi'im said their nevuah with the word koi, like this. Koi amar Hashem. And the Chassidus explains the big difference. Zeh means that he has the real thing you can point a finger at. Koi means like that, but not the real thing. In Atzil, in Amaila, in Sfiris, Zeh is Zo, is Midas, is Zeh. This Midas is what you actually experience. And in Seichel is only Koi. In Bina is only Koi. So they would say that then Midas is superior to Bina, because this is Zeh and this is Koi. So we explain that yes, Zeh is a superior quality of knowledge, but there is a superiority in the fact that you have only Mitzius and Mitzius, like Koi, of a higher thing, which is Bina that knows a higher thing than that which Zon knows. This is what we are now thinking. Okay? This is what we said, that Chocham Odif min Novi. Novi is like Zeh, because Novi is Re'iyah. Chocham is only Koi, because this is only Seichel. Seichel knows only the Mediyas and Mitzias. So how can you say Chocham Odif min Novi? Because Chocham knows at the level of Koi something much higher than that which a Novi knows at the level of Zeh. And therefore that makes it superior. This is the whole thing that we discussed before and now. Okay. Now we continue on the end of this line that begins with the word Chocham. This is the bottom third of the page. Chocham Odif min Novi. At the end of the line there is a parenthesis, close parenthesis. Mikol Mokoim, okay, Mikol Mokoim, yet still, Yesh Gam Milo B'Bchina Zo. There is also still a Milo, still a superior value in Zo relative to Bino, Ma Shehu B'Chinas Gilui Ho'etzem. In the fact that this is a gili of the etzem. This reveals the very essence rather than the mitzias. Gili hu etzem means, this is what we said before, that a mahus, that you have the real thing, whereas in Bino, you do not know the real thing. You know about it, but not the real thing, the thing itself. That's mean Gili Hu Etzem. So the Gam Shehu B'Madrega Tachteinu, which means that although it is in a lower madrego, that Zo is in lower madrego than Bino, Mikol Mokoim, it's still Huma'ulo Yoiser Midiyas HaMetzios de Madrego Elieno. It has a greater value, a superior value, superior stance than the idea of Midiyas HaMetzios of a high madrego. Eventually, we'll get to something more closer to our level of learning, but I don't want to skip anything anyway. Because, as I said in the introduction, learning Hasidus is not merely for the purpose of acquiring knowledge. Learning Hasidus is for the purpose of experiencing our own intelligence. Experience what is a human being. When you learn Hasidus, even if you understand it minimally, but it exposes you to something which you can only know because of your human quality, human intelligence, human neshama. This is the point which I'm trying to make before. I once related here, I don't know if any one of you were present when I mentioned this. I recall many years ago, there was on Eastern Parkway an elderly gentleman. He was a loner, he lived alone, very fine gentleman, apparently he had some education. He was a loner, and he had a little doggie. This was his company. He used to walk around with his doggie. So one time, he stood on the corner over there, and he was demonstrating to us what his dog is able to do, how intelligent his dog is. And he would say 2 and 3, and the dog would bark out 5 times. Wow. Quite impressive, isn't it? A dog was able to add 2 and 3. What do you think?
Wants a treat.
Huh?
I think the dog wants a treat.
Sorry.
I said I think the dog wants a treat.
Wants a treat?
Yeah.
He got a treat. As soon as he did that, he jumped on him, he hugged him, everything.
Let's try asking like what's 1 and 4.
1 and 4, everything. Whatever, between 1 and 9, he was able to add them together. Isn't it amazing? Huh?
You trained him, it's instinct.
You trained him. But if he has no intelligence, how can you train him?
Who says it's intelligence?
No?
Couldn't it be like something else based on if he wants food, so therefore he'll learn? When the man says this and this, you do.
You have to be able to learn something. What do you think? Let me explain to you.
Not our intelligence.
Huh?
It says it's not our intelligence.
It's not our?
Intelligence.
What's the difference?
Yeah, we explained it before.
It's just copying.
Huh?
It's copying some information you received. It's not relating to it.
Listen to me. Listen carefully. The dog had no idea that 2 and 3 is 5.
He hears 2 and he says it barks.
Excuse me?
He hears 2 and he hears 3 and he barks 2 and he barks
Oh,
3.
that's it. He didn't bark 5 times.
He barked 2 times and 3 times.
He barks 2 times and 3 times.
That's
Still 2 separate entities.
Had no intelligence to put it together. 0. 0. This is just to illustrate to you. You should understand that the intelligence that we have is a godly gift. And the more we challenge it, the more we understand the sensitive, the final aspect of it, the more human, the more we're revealing and using that godly gift. We can also learn superficially, 2 and 3, 2 and 3 is 5. Like I always say, 1 and 1 is 2. Right? Why is 1, 1 and 2? 1 and 1 is 1 and 1. You heard me say this many times. When we say 1 and 1 is 2, we don't mean 1 and 1 is 2 once. Like the dog will say, 2 once. 2 separate ones. We're saying 1 and 1 is 2. There's a relationship between them. That's exclusively human. Only a human being can see this from a higher level where they are actually united.
I think you made a reference to the metaphor of a cup, that these two cups exist because...
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we discussed it one time to a greater degree, to a greater... Okay, but this is only what I'm pointing at is this. We're learning something which is so deep and so involved, and it's a Kabbalah issues, and you're not necessarily up to this at this point. And if we learn something lighter, we probably cover much more ground. But I don't know whether this would bring out as much your own intelligence. So it's worthwhile for me to spend a little time to point out to you who you are, where your intelligence is, so that the real strength that carries a person throughout his lifetime is this intellectual insight. The person realizes that life is for real, that human life is for real. They can't compromise on that, because this is the special gift that you have. This is what sets a person on the path of life. This is what sets a person on the path of life. And the only way to do this, to get that, is from time to time actually sense something. Hey, wow, it is something which I can't demonstrate physically, but I understand it. Like I said before, the sense of a diamond versus a big stone. There's a person who senses the difference, a person who doesn't sense the difference. So the whole reason of the stone is because it looks nice. It looks nicer than the little teeny diamond. Okay, so let's continue over here. So this is what we're saying like this. In Zoh, there is a Maila. What is the Maila? Mashu hu b'chinas gilui ho'etzem. The fact that there is a gilui ho'etzem. What is etzem? Etzem means the actual experience itself, the actual thing itself. Let's take a physical example. You have an apple. An apple looks very attractive. It's a beautiful fruit. When you bite into it, it's no longer beautiful, right? What do you eat? You eat its beauty, or you eat its content, its meat, right? You eat its meat. What gives you strength and health? It's meat. The vitamins and minerals or whatever it is. And yet, before you take a bite of an apple, the attractiveness of the apple is very important to you. When you look at the apple and want to eat it, the reason you want to eat it is because of what it looks like. You smell it, you see its ripeness and so forth. You don't eat it because of its mineral and vitamin value. I mean, you do, but that's not what attracts you to it. If you tell a person, like, let me just mess it up, mess it up. It's the same thing, right? It's the same mineral, so I eat it now. It says, I can't eat it. You can only eat it when it looks decent. So, the actual benefit is from the mess. The intellectual experience is from its appearance. You cannot live by looking at it. So therefore you live from eating it. But you cannot eat only that. The mind will not let you eat something that doesn't look attractive. So there's a mile in its looks, and there's a mile in its content. The content has a special mile. That this is really gives you, this is the real thing, this is what you're actually experiencing in eating it. The looks has a mile because that gives you a sense of its beauty and of its quality and so forth. As a matter of fact, you can only make a bracha saying "Beina pri ha'is" because it looks like a beautiful fruit. That's the only reason you make a bracha on it. So there's a mila in both. This is what we're saying. In Zohar there's a mila. Why? Because there is a gilui ha'etzem. There's a real thing that you experience, which is superior in terms of the gilui, in terms of what it tells you, in terms of what you're experiencing, to knowing the mitzius. That this is you're describing what is contained within this apple. This is only the mitzias of his seichel. Okay, so let's look further inside. The gam shehu b'madrega tachtenu. For although it is in the lower madrega, because this is much more to the tangible aspect, to a lower level. But yet, it is a superior type of knowledge. It's a superior type of knowledge than that which is known at the higher madrega. Again, the parentheses we're going to have to skip. That was enough. All right, I want to skip a few lines. I want to go down to 5 lines from the bottom. The line begins with the word Ema. Huh? Okay. Huh? No, this page. 5 lines from the bottom. Ema, not Ema. V'zehu, and thus this is the point. Ma shele'osid lovei, that Osid Lovoi, in the future time, Nemar, based Omim Zeh. It says twice the word Zeh to describe our experience of Osid Lovoi. It describes it in two different ways, and in both ways it uses the word Zeh, and in both and these two Zeh are actually referring to two different levels. What are the two Zeh? The Omer Ba'imahu, this is a posuk that we all familiar with. The Omer Ba'imahu, it will say in that day, Hine Elekeinu Zeh. He is Elekeinu, our God, Zeh. Here I'm pointing a finger at him. And then the rest of the posuk says, Zeh Havaya Kivinu Lei. He is Havaya, that to whom we have trusted. So there are two different levels that are called Zeh. Hainu, and the reason for that is Ki Zo, because Zo, Nikro Zeh, Zo is also called Zeh. Lefi Shehu Gilui Mamish, because it's a real revelation. Bli Hester Vehelem, without any concealment. But Vegam Chochmu Nikro Zeh, but Chochmu is also called Zeh. V'hu Mailo Mailo Mibchina Zeh de Zo, and it is much superior to the Zeh of Zo. The Re'iyas HaMahuz the Chochma, because that which in Chochma there is Re'iyas HaMahuz. This we will discuss in a moment. There are certain things that I'm just going to go through, certain things that we'll stop and discuss. Re'iyas HaMahuz the Chochma, this which we have, we can see the Mahuz of in Chochma. Hu b'bchinas Mahuz v'atzmos Ein Sof. That is a real sighting of the Atzmos of Ein Sof. L'maylo maylo b'bchinas Hagilu dezo. Much higher than that which reveals itself in Zoh. Again, this is all talking about Atzilus, and we have very, very little understanding of Atzilus. But I want to use the opportunity here to explain how this union is actually recognized by us in the human being. All of us heard of the special place that Chochmah is given by us. Like Chochmah, this is the supreme king, so to speak, in the human being. And it's called the Iyah de Chochmah, the sighting of Chochmah. Okay, everybody is asleep, but not everybody. Some of us. Sorry to disturb you. I know it's hard, I know. I'll tell you.
Mentally tiring.
Yeah, it's mentally tiring, I know. You fall asleep also because it's exhausting. But I said, I want that you should experience these insights. Just to know that they exist. Just to know that you have access to them.
How is it our intellect in it? Because if we were to look at this by ourselves and read this, we could probably even translate a lot of the words and put them into context, but we wouldn't make sense of it in the same way like we do in this class. So how is it ours if in the end, you're the one that guides us directly through it, through all the nooks and crannies that we wouldn't have even thought existed otherwise?
That's right. Because you didn't learn it. You didn't yet experience it. But when I'm pointing it out to you, you're able to see it. That's the important thing. That's my aim. Of course. Eventually, Mitzvah Hashem, you'll be able to find it yourself, but that's not important. The important thing is right now, if I'm pointing it out to you and you're able to see it, that's what counts. Let's speak about Chokhmah for a moment. It's probably the most important faculty that we have. We always talk about learn. Learn. The more you learn, the better you're off, and the more you'll know, and you will be developed, and so you develop your seichel, you develop your midas, you develop your personality, and so forth. So for this, the Rambam gives us one very principal rule. And he says, before you can start learning, right? We say, always quote this. Yisoid ha-yisoidet ve'amud ha-chochmas. The foundation of all foundations and the pillar of Chokhmah is Leida sheyesh shom motzu nishin, to know that there's a first being. So we explained this many times. The Rambam is saying that before you get to Chokhmah, you have to know that there's a first being. How do you know there's a first being if you don't have Chokhmah? If you don't employ your seichel, how do you know there's a first being? And yet he says the only way to develop seichel is to know before that, to know that there's a first being. What's the answer? And this answer is really critical for all of us to understand. And before I get to the core of it, I'm going to ask you all a simple question. We all say that a human being learns. Like I said, the difference between a human being and an animal. He can learn. The dog, no matter how much you teach him, he's not going to learn that which a human being can learn. Right? When he learns 2 and 3 is 5, he'll learn that it is 5. I want to ask you a simple question. A human being who has never learned anything, a child who has never learned anything, and lahavdul, an animal that has never learned anything, what would you say is the difference? Huh?
I mean, at least like the human can have the potential to learn.
So yeah?
The human being the baby has potential to learn, whereas the animal isn't going to go anywhere.
Potential to learn. Okay. I'm not asking about what will be with this human being 5 years from today. I'm asking about this compared to human being now to the animal now.
It's a human being.
What?
That's the difference. It's a human being while the other is still an animal.
Okay, what's the difference?
In regards to like intellect, or just in general?
I'm asking you tell me where the difference is.
The human being, even though he hasn't learned anything, he has a sense for the value of things. He just doesn't know how to apply it in a practical way, but he has it. He has this chokhmah. Intrinsically he has it, even if he doesn't have the elements to apply it.
Do you agree with that? Do we all realize that? Do we all understand that? Should we?
I want to hear the explanation. If you can.
Okay, we could. Well, let's first of all Moshe to elaborate on it, and then we'll add to it. This is an important principle to understand, and to know and to remember.
There's a way to prove it.
Also me?
I think the way to prove this is that a human being, even if he hasn't learned anything, he feels that there's something that there's an emptiness. He relates to something. He feels like a baby. If he doesn't know anything, he feels out of place. He feels things don't match. An animal doesn't feel out of place. He's just reacting to whatever is going on. But he doesn't have a sense of reality beyond his experience. A human being is always sensitive, even if he doesn't know what's going on. He is like outside himself in a way. He's like, where am I? What's going on? You can see that even by a
No,
baby.
Moshe, you're taking it too far. A baby does not question his existence.
A little bit.
A little kid doesn't question his existence. On the contrary, you know, when we start questioning our existence, when we think, when you're smarter than our britches, when we think you become too smart. We're not talking about questioning our existence.
I meant like feeling like out of place. Like what is?
Why should it be out of place?
Huh?
Why should anyone feel out of place?
Because he doesn't relate to anything.
Why not?
Because he has no knowledge. He doesn't know how to.
Why should he feel out of place? Whatever it is, it is. This feeling out of place is, you know, no. This is not an imperative state. Imperative. It's not a must say on the contrary. A person feels perfectly comfortable in the world. There's no reason for him to feel uncomfortable at all. This business of the question, your existence and all that, those are not healthy questions. A healthy person doesn't question his existence. Like I say all the time, you learn with a child, Breishis Borei Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. God created hashamayim v'ha'aretz. Does he question it? Doesn't question it. Okay, makes sense. Intrinsically, the difference between a human being and an animal, lahavdil, is that the animal is on the physical, exclusively on the physical level, and the human being is on the spiritual level. He right away sees things, whenever, even a child. Give you a very simple illustration. The Rebbe taught us many things in terms of chinuch of children. And the Rebbe said, every child in the home should have his own siddur. Should have his own siddur, his own chumash, his own pushke. Right? And they printed out the siddur, it's called sidduri. And sometimes they put the name of the child, about a very young child. Now, what is a siddur for? Siddur is to read what it says in to daven from it. What's the point of that? Daven in your own siddur, or you daven in the siddur? What's the difference?
Feel like a personal connection to it?
Let me take you out of this for a moment. Does it make a difference to a dog whether he's eating something that belongs to him or belongs to another dog? Make any difference? Does it make any difference? What's this in this human being that he wants to have his own siddur?
Seeing the value of something besides from what it actually is.
In the human being senses from the moment, from the start, there's something real about life. It's not just the experience. In the sense, this is a clear contrast. Excuse me? There's a clear contrast. Not only that, I mean, this is already on the higher, more advanced stage, a more advanced level and age. But the Gemara says that a person feels uncomfortable eating from somebody else's hand. It's called namo diksufa. It's not I didn't earn it. I didn't earn it. I'm giving it to matona, eat it. I don't feel comfortable. Because a human being senses, this is the chokhmah shebenefesh. There's much to talk about it, but I just wanted to just point out a very simple thing. There's a fundamental difference. I want you to understand that all the seichel that we're learning, whether it's in Chassidus, in Nigla, or any place else, is all based on this fundamental reality. If we fail to relate to this fundamental reality, we can learn things, we can remember things. It's not significant learning. It doesn't really develop us. We accumulate knowledge. This is lahavdil, similar to the dog barking out 5 times, 2 and 3. But you spit out all the answers, but they're not real. First, primary importance is to relate to this reality, to this human reality. And if we relate to this human reality, whatever we learn, we seek to see where is it real. Do I really do? I'm going to say, do I really understand it? What does it mean? Do I really understand it? I can repeat what you told me. What does it mean, do I really understand it? Do I really understand it means, does it connect to that sense of reality? This is the significance of us talking about Chokhmah, that Chokhmah sees the Mahus. Mahus means reality. A human being is primarily made, its primary, its first sense of self-knowledge is on this Chokhmah level. Everything else is built upon that. And if you skip that, and you teach him everything else, you missed the soul of the human soul, the real thing. There are many times people who are doing everything right, and they say, I don't feel I'm involved in what I'm doing. Right? I don't feel I'm involved. I don't relate to it. This is why we're spending so much time on this. Because this is the basis for everything else. Okay. overstayed my welcome over here. It's a little late. All right. Remember, to a dog makes no difference whether it's his meat or somebody else's meat. As long as you don't hit him over the head and say, "Don't eat it," he's enjoying himself.
Can't understand.
Human being is different story. Different
You
meaning.
know the difference between
Oh, yeah.
This for real. Yes, sir.
You're saying that the reason,
living stuff.
another reason, is that the human being wants things to be earned, comes from the fact that he connects to the real value of things, and therefore he can't imagine not working together.
Essentially, in the real sense, is because he connects to Hashem. Because to him, everything is real. But this is much deeper than we realize.
Okay, so the more a person values the real value of something, the more he won't want to get it in the easy way. That's basically what I mean.
The more he wants,
The
what?
less he's going, the more he values the essential value of something, the less he's going to want to achieve this the easy way. He's
Yeah,
going to want to invest.
that's right.
Basically what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So,
Huh?
I mean,
What are you saying?
I agree, but I just kind of wonder why exactly is that which element in the human being makes us that we care so much? I mean, obviously we do. I mean, you look around. Like, I mean, growing up, I was always like also taught like you don't want to take free handouts. It's human it's like human dignity that you should we're supposed to work hard. But what exactly is it that's part of like the human being that Hashem made us that makes us like that?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, but it will sound a little far-fetched because we have to go through all the steps. But I'll tell you straight out, because the human being measures himself not against other human beings, and not against the world, but from from Hashem's perspective. Did I get this from Hashem, or I did not get it from Hashem? If I got it from you, I don't want it. I want it, everything that I have, I want a sense that I got it directly from Hashem.
So in the sense that when you're working hard for something, you're creating the proper channels to receive it. as opposed
Then
to
you've
just-
gotten it from Hashem. If I got it from you, it means nothing to me.
That's really for every person.
Huh. Yeah, that makes
I'm sorry?
yeah, that makes sense.
It's phenomenal. But it's for every person. The others want it from the rest of the world, from nature, whatever it is, but something bigger than just, I took it from you.
Right.
Wow.
You want to get the essential connection, not some side.
Right. I want to create it.
Huh.
I thought it was like I got from it. I thought it was like, I don't need you to win it. I can do it myself. But from this, it seems the other way around in a way.
Well, Gaiva is taking that quality into the wrong direction. Okay,
Wow.
but it's also coming.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Even when it's carried out in a Gaiva-dicted way, like originally it's seemingly like
It
originally it
originates
started off in a
something
right
real,
spot, but
right.
it just got how we
Every bad meter has a counterpart of a good meter. Every bad
the whole
meter,
reason why we want that. Wow, it's very interesting.
because we want something real.
And that's why when the person understands that Hashem wants me to get it through this way, then his dignity is not affected by receiving it that way. Basically.
But the what?
If the person understands in his situation, this is how Hashem wants to give it to me through this person, then he's not going to lose his dignity by receiving it from the person.
That's true. That's true. Without a cloud, it's hard for a person.
Very hard.
But
Personally,
that's
that would be on a very
yeah. We should.
I think I have.
Nothing
Okay.
to say with this.
So now that I see that you understood it, I'm vindicated to have tortured you like this. I don't feel so bad. Okay? So that's it.